Welcome to Brand Builders TV. Deep dive topics, tools and resources brought to you by global thought leaders from within the Brand Builders Club. This show gives you access to the strategies that you can use to move forward with ease and flow in every area of your life and business. On today's show, which is part 1 of 3, Mary delves into the elements that contribute to you being a future fit leader and explores important questions such as what sort of leaders does the world now need and how does being future fit really fit in? Learn it, model it and get shit done. Let's go.
I'm very excited to be delivering this session with you this morning. My name is Mary Gregory. I am the Future Fit Leader, and what I'm committed to is supporting others to be future fit leaders too. And today's session is all about unlocking your future fit leader potential. And what that means is that I would imagine that there are probably quite a few future fit leaders here in the BBTV community already. I know lots of brand builders that I've come across. I would already say, yeah, you're definitely a future fit leader. And there'll be many that are on their journey. You may be starting your journey, you may be just getting clear of your purpose. Whatever that is, you'll be on your way. And today's session really is about me sharing with you some of my thoughts around future fit leadership, and also inviting you to look into yourself and think about where you are on your own journey and where you might want to grow and develop in terms of becoming even more future fit for the world that we live in at the moment. So what I want to us all to think about today is how the world is changing, or has changed and continues to change over the last few years. Last 15 years or more, we've seen rapid change. I can see lots of comments coming in there. Hello, Lubna. I just want to say, Mary, you are flipped. I don't know what that means. Lubna, bring them on the camera. I don't know what that means, Lubna, but I have turned my camera to the side and I've started recording. So are you seeing me sideways? Is that what it means, Lubna? You're seeing me the wrong way around? Not sure that's what's happening. So this thing is live. This is what happens when things go live. I am reading things sideways. So I hope I've got this right. I did turn the camera as asked to. You are sideways. So maybe I need to turn my camera. Let me just have a look before we get going. Right, I'm going to turn it that way. What's that like, Lubna? You can't turn your phone while recording. Okay, I'm going to have to do it this way. And I'm not sure my stand is going to stretch enough to do that. Bring them on camera. Okay, slight technical hitch here. I'm not sure why this has happened, but I started with my phone this way and for some reason it's not doing it. I don't know why not. So I'm going to just keep going, and maybe you're going to have to watch me sideways, so apologies for that. For our second part of the series, I will make sure that I've got the technology sorted out. Anyway, thank you for telling me about that, Lubna. I really don't know what to do. She's saying this way is good. Lubna, you are fantastic. Thank you for supporting me with that. Okay, so let's crack on. As I said before, this is the first of 3 programs, all about fit leaders and all about future fit leadership. And my passion, what I do for my day job, is about empowering people and leaders to create great places of work, great organisations where people thrive. And what I'm committed to over the course of these 3 programs is to help build a collaborative learning space. I want us all to learn together. So today is going to be very much an inquiry. And I want us to be able to share our freshest thinking. Lumina's just said I'm sideways again. I'm going to have to crack on with being sideways because I can't hold my phone while I'm running this session. So I hope it's okay to see me sideways for today, and next time will be the right way up. So I'm committed to building a collaborative learning space. I hope that today you'll join in, you'll feel free to ask questions, to make your comments. That would be very valuable. And hello, Tracy Ann. So nice to see you. So she's saying it's okay to be sideways for today. Maybe this is an alternative way of learning together. I hope you don't get a crick in your neck. So my intention over these three programs is really to start opening up that inquiry around what is Future Fit Leader and what is Future Fit Leadership, so that we can start growing together as a Future Fit learning community. I don't know about you, but there have been lots of things going on in the world over the last 15, 20 years. We've seen massive change. Over the last year, look at what we've had to contend with. And that requires something different from leaders. And I would assert it probably requires something different from what we're actually seeing from a lot of leaders. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on what works and what is positive. And I'll be asking some questions in relation to what works and what is positive as we get into this session. So I'm just going to say hello to Tracy Ann. Howdy do to you, Tracy Ann, and to Sally as well. Good morning. Lovely to see you all here. It's great to know there are people out there that I'm connecting with. And please keep posting your comments. It's great to see them. I'm having to read them sideways as well, so we're probably all going to end up with crick necks this morning. So, getting out of our comfort zone, being sideways. Thank you, Ellen. That is absolutely correct. And I have to say, I'm way out of my comfort zone talking to you like this as well. So it's very spontaneous, very free-flowing, and I'm really looking forward to what emerges. And I hope we'll have quite a playful time in this first session. So what we're going to be looking at today then really is thinking about what a future fit leader is, and also the type of leader that we think the world needs at the moment, or the type of leadership the world needs at the moment as well. Thinking about all the different things that we've been faced with over just this last 12 months. But as I was saying, the previous 20 years, we've seen some massive changes going on. And it's requiring something different from our leaders to what we maybe have traditionally had. So what I want to emphasise is whatever stage you're at in your journey, you may feel you're very clear on your purpose as a leader. I know I've certainly come across leaders within brand builders who are absolutely on purpose. They know what they want, they know what they're causing in the world, they know the difference they're making. I've met others who are just in the formation of their purpose and getting clearer about themselves. I hope that whatever stage you're at in your journey, today is going to be a valid session for you, and that you're going to take value from it from the point of view of sharing our wisdom together here. And also I'm going to be presenting some ideas around what I think Future Fit Leader is, and I'm happy to open those up to discussion. You may not agree with all of them, or you may think, well, there's nothing new there. Whatever it is, these are some ideas that I've put together really to get my thinking going and to stimulate our thinking and conversation in the group. Great, lovely, Ellen, thank you for that. So I would like you to join in with your comments and questions, and it's brilliant that you've all started commenting already, so thank you for that. And I'll be paying attention to those as we go through. I might have to turn my head sideways as I do it. But I want us to get the most out of this learning experience this morning, to suspend judgment, put you in a critical way, get out your curiosity cat, and be really curious about the things that we're talking about today, and reflect on those in relation to yourself and your own leadership, but also the leadership you experience out there in the world, in your business, in your family, in your organisation. I also want to emphasise there is no such thing as a stupid question and no such thing as a foolish comment. Whatever you want to add, whatever you want to say, the question you want to ask is always going to be of value. And I'm always of a belief that quite often when we're thinking about a question we might want to ask and we're thinking, oh, I can't ask that, that's too basic or it's too silly, there are probably a lot of other people thinking the same thing. So you're often, when you ask that question that you think might not be valid, it absolutely is, and it helps other people learn as well. So let's have some fun this morning. I hope we have some fun. I'm trying to keep the session light. I've got some things that I'm going to bring in to help highlight our learning and some of the messages I'd like to get across. And let's just see how things go. So, I mentioned earlier that today is really this first program in this series of 3 is about an inquiry. It's an inquiry into leadership, and it's an inquiry into what future fit leadership is. So the way I want to look at that is, first of all, think about what we think future fit leaders are, and why does the world need future fit leaders. And also I'd like to invite you to look into yourself and where you are as a future fit leader as well. So I'm just checking. Yeah. Something about leadership, as Ellen has just said, is about leading ourselves and being conscious of ourselves, and whatever our role in life, we are a leader in some shape or form. I totally agree with you there, Ellen. And we cast a shadow over people, whatever we're doing. So that means that whenever we do that, we're in the position of leading others. So, fugitive leaders or future. That's interesting, Ellen. I'm talking about future. So that may involve fugitive. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So we could maybe explore what that's about. But it's about future fit leaders. Not necessarily being physically fit, although that is part of it. It's about being holistically fit to lead and navigate the constant terrain of change that we're faced in the world today. So I want us to explore some important questions today, and I also want us to explore some ideas that I'm going to share about what I think future fit leadership is and what elements contribute to it, and do some reflection around that as well. So I'm going to be inviting you to get experiential and to reflect on your own personal leadership style and your own life at the moment and how you're leading within it. But let's start really big. And it's great to see people on the call already, because I'm going to ask a question now. So I've already mentioned how much the terrain of the world is just all about constant change, the challenges that we're faced with. And, you know, the last 15 to 20 years have just seen cataclysmic change in many, many ways. And particularly in the last year, what a massive change we've seen with our whole challenge of the COVID-19 and the pandemic that we've been experiencing. So I think an important question to ask ourselves is, when we think about the world today, what does the world need from leaders? What sort of leaders does our world need now? That's the question I'm inquiring into. And I'd just like to hear from you as to your experiences of what you've seen from leaders in the last year or in the last 5 years, whatever you've been experiencing and observing about leaders. Let's do an appreciative inquiry about the things that we've seen in leadership and in leaders around us. And it could be close by, could be within our family, how people have acted in a leadership capacity there, or it could be in our organisations, or it could be things we've observed across the world globally in terms of leadership. What qualities have we seen that have really worked in the current circumstances that we're facing, and in the challenging world that we face of constant change? So just have a look and see for yourself, what sort of things have you noticed about leaders around you, or about even your own leadership, that you think is a positive quality, that is something that the world needs now from its leaders. So Lubna, thank you for sharing that. So Lubna's talked about leaders that are confident and can actually lead, as in show the way. So we need leaders who have a sense of direction and can actually shine a light and show the way on that direction. So that's very pertinent. And we've got something about leadership that is truth and clarity. Thank you for that, Sally. So there's something there about leaders in the current climate and in the challenging world that we're facing these days, leaders needing to be able to speak their truth, to be honest, and to be clear about what they're communicating and about what they're saying. And there's the whole thing about authenticity. Thank you, Lubna. So that whole thing about authenticity is really, really valuable from a point of view of a leader. And yet so often we don't necessarily find that an easy thing to be, particularly in the context of certain organisations or certain situations we may face ourselves in. So that ability to be authentic and to be able to empower others. So there's something about the impact we have on others. So Lubna and Sally, you're sharing some really valuable insights there. Oh, I love that, Sally, because that feeds right into something I'm going to share later. So that excites me. What Sally's sharing is about leaders. It's not about being self-serving. And it so isn't about being self-serving. And in terms of the future fit leader, if you're in it just for yourself, then that isn't going to get you very far, particularly in today's world. There's got to be something bigger at play. And that fits very nicely into one of the elements that I'm going to look at later on in terms of what makes a future fit leader. So, Lubna again, leaders that are saying what they are going to do and do what they say. I love that. So yeah, that whole element of consistency around being congruent with your values showing up in your behaviour and your actions following your words. Very, very important. That's fantastic. Thank you, Lubna. So some really, really great observations around what effective leadership looks like for today's world and the sort of leadership that we need now. Tracy Ann's also making a contribution, so I'm just going to see what she has to say. Yeah, so we do need leaders that are not just in it for themselves. I think it can be really tricky to separate our ego or ourselves from what we are trying to create and contribute. And sometimes the two do get merged because, in doing a good deed or in making a difference in the world, we will find that fulfilling for ourselves. But I suppose the whole element of self-serving, and we could probably spend a whole half hour looking at what do we mean by self-serving, and we're not going to do that today, maybe that's for another time. But the whole idea of self-serving as a leader is that if you're just purely self-serving, then you're not taking care of those people that may well be following you. So I think that's the big thing that's the difference. Whereas leadership is really, it's not about status. If you're in it for status, you're in it for the wrong reasons. It's about making that difference that will go beyond your lifetime, I would say. So it's making that legacy difference rather than it being a self-serving act. Hello, I'm going to say hello to Marcus as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Do join in with your comments when you're ready. And Ellen has also made another comment, which is leaders should know the difference between managing and leading. Yes, so I would always say the best way to sum that up is that managing is about transactional business. It's about the transaction and this needs to get done, do it. Leading is much more transformational. It's about how you interact with people. It's about how you inspire, how you empower and get them to take ownership and create the future with you. So it's a very co-creative process, leading, whereas managing is much more about getting the job done and being very task focused. So a lot of managers don't know how to lead or think they're leaders, but they might not be. I think that's one of the challenges is, Ellen, that we all have our blind spots and sometimes we don't realise that's what we might be doing. But actually, in actual fact, what's going to be really helpful is for us to step away and have a look and consider our blind spots so that we can keep developing and keep growing. So some fantastic comments coming through there. I am at 20 past 10 already. I can't believe that, where the time's gone. So I'm going to take us through now what I consider the 6 C's of leadership. So this is what I consider the 6 C's of future fit leader. And my background, I'm a trainer, I'm a facilitator. It's very difficult for me not to write things down. So I had to prepare this as a mini flip chart just to point out what the 6 C's of leadership are. So I'm going to take us through those, and I'm going to see what you think your 6 C's are. And then I'm going to give you a task to do at the end of this session. And if we don't finish it completely today, I'm going to invite you to take that task away and reflect on it, and then rejoin me next week when we have our second program next week to actually reflect on how you got on with that task. So the 6 C's, I might add, is my first outing. I only developed the 6 C's as part of preparing for this program. I'd actually got them all sorted out. I had a list of 6 things, but I hadn't called them the 6 C's. But I'm going to take us through what these 6 C's are. I'm also saying that they're not set in stone. They are open to interpretation and for us to develop together if we think that there's other ways of expressing them that could be better. But the first of my 6 C's is being comfortable with ambiguity. So to be a future fit leader, it's really, really invaluable to have that comfort around not knowing. So if you've been someone who's always liked to have control of things and like to micromanage, which many managers do, then actually that's a development area for you, is to start thinking about how can you start learning to let go and to trust the process more, and to trust others to take on the task for you as well, and not necessarily always have all the answers. And I want to get really clear here. It's not about being directionless. It's about holding a vision, so having some direction that you're headed to. That provides you with a focus. But it's about being flexible in how you go about achieving that direction. So if you think about getting on a plane from London to New York, you know, your destination is New York. You're going to get there eventually. But that plane, every single plane that flies from London to New York, doesn't take the same route. They meander off the route. They have to navigate past storms, about different winter, different winds and all different weather conditions. So the route will vary depending on what's going on and what the circumstances are. So a plane and the automatic pilot and the pilot on board are able to flex with their circumstances in order to get you to New York. Well, similarly, for a future fit leader, there's a real need for you to be comfortable with not knowing, to be comfortable with ambiguity, and to flex with the circumstances and be agile to the circumstances that you got. So I invite you to consider how comfortable you are with not knowing and how much you're able to trust the process. So those are the 2 things to think about in terms of being comfortable with ambiguity. The next of our 6 C's, number 2, is about being conscious of ourselves and the impact we have on others. So it's that level of consciousness. And what I'm talking about here are leaders who are awake. And I know that the majority of people I've come into contact with in the in the Brand Builders Club are absolutely awake. And I've got here this beautiful miner's lamp. I hail from the northeast, and my father worked for the coal board, and so on Christmas he gave both my sister and I a beautiful miner's lamp. And here's a lamp that I think is symbolic of what I mean by being conscious and why consciousness is important. So you as a leader, all your interactions, you cast a light and you cast a shadow. So absolutely, someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Lubna, that leadership is about showing the light. Where's the way forward? Casting the light will show the way forward, but also in casting that light, you cast a shadow. And that shows up in how you interact with people, how you engage, the moods that you might be in. However you show up will cast that shadow. So there's something very important in terms of being a future fit leader to actually be able to recognise your behavioural patterns, recognise your beliefs, your ego traps, and be willing to free yourself from those in order that they don't hold you back, but also that they don't cast a shadow on those people that you're leading. And remember that lamp. You are a light that's helping others, that's guiding others, and you want to make sure you do that in the most positive way. And the way to do that is to be clear about yourself, to be self-aware, and to make sure that you're building positive relationships, because if you want other people to come with you, leadership is very relational. It's about building those positive relationships and making sure people come on board with you. So it's how conscious are you of yourself? I know a lot of you are very, very conscious in this community. How much do you work collaboratively with others? What's your commitment to your development? A new angle I've been writing about recently is the work of Robert Keegan and what he calls deliberately developmental leadership. And his assertion is that organisations, to be successful going forward in the future, need to have a strategy that absolutely encourages and enables everyone in the organisation to be working on their development as leaders. And I think that's a fantastic premise to be taking, and certainly one that, to be a future fit leader, there's a certain degree of having to commit to your own development, and self-awareness is absolutely key to that. Thank you for that, Tracy. So on to number 3, and number 3 is the one that kind of, I think I can get on my soapbox a bit here, so I've got to just watch myself. So this is about creating a positive legacy, and I'm so thrilled that you've all mentioned that already, that it's about serving others, it's about doing something bigger than yourself. So creating a positive legacy, thinking beyond your own ego and thinking about what can you contribute, what difference can you make, even though you might not be able to see it through to the end, because it might be beyond your lifetime. And I have to thank Sammy Blindell actually for that. Thank you, Sammy, because what you did once on a call was really challenge me about my own picture and the picture I was aiming for and painting for myself as a vision. Sammy really made me step up and think about what did I want to be creating in 100 years' time, not just in 10 years' time, which really made me stop and think. And when you think that long term, you are way thinking beyond yourself, because I'm not going to be around in 100 years' time. So what do I want to start now that will still be carrying on in some shape or form in 100 years' time? And I invite each of you to think about that. What do you want to be remembered for? And what do you want to have created that's still continuing 100 years from now? It's a very big question, and one that confronted me, so I hope it's not too confronting for you. But the whole thing there is that as a future fit leader, you're willing to play out of your comfort zone, and transcending our ego causes us to play out of our comfort zone. It's often our ego that causes us to play small, be it we have an overinflated ego that we want all the attention and drain all the energy in the room, or we have an underinflated ego that's holding us back and keeping us playing small. So I think there are lots of people who have very big purposes already in this community, and I'd love to hear about them. Share them in the comments after this programme. I'd love to see what those are. So number 4 I'm going to move on to, and this is about being courageous. So number 4, the element of being a future fit leader, is that you are courageous and that you will take the action even though it might frighten you. Now I'm reminded of the Wizard of Oz story. You know, the lion, he wanted to find his courage, and when he found the Wizard of Oz gave him some sort of gruel type thing to eat, and that was meant to give him courage. Now, I don't think that's how you get courage. I don't think courage is acting without fear. I think courage is acting with fear. So you might feel frightened of something, but the whole idea is that you still take the action, you still step forward despite you feeling frightened. It's being willing to take the fear with you. And the way to keep practicing and developing that muscle in yourself is to do something every day that makes you feel uncomfortable, because that's the way to keep stretching that muscle and strengthening that muscle. So I invite you, if you're feeling like there are things that are holding you back, do small things at first that stretch you, and then you can move on to the bigger things. But courageous steps really help leaders be future fit and to take that action. Number 5C is about compassion towards ourselves. So I know many, many people who are massively compassionate about other people, but then they miss themselves out. As a future fit leader, it is so important that you look after yourself. You know, you're going to need all the resources you've got to make the difference you want to make in the world, but, you know, self-care, self-compassion is so, so valuable, and being able to know and have different ways of resourcing yourself, refilling those resources at times that you need to, but also talking kindly to yourself, having a compassionate voice and acknowledging the successes that you're achieving rather than just focusing on where the things might be gaps. And I've got a nice fluffy cushion as our sort of symbol for that. You know, how often do you hug yourself? How often do you really acknowledge the progress that you're making, and also being compassionate with yourself when things don't go exactly according to plan? And the final C, which I'm very pleased we're getting up to just in time on the half hour, is I'm presenting this book. And it's just any old book that I picked up off my shelves. It's a lovely book. But this represents for me continuous learning and growth. So as a future fit leader, what's important is that we are committed to learning from every experience that we have. So today for me, this has been a massive learning experience. I'm going to apply that to the next program that we have. But what's important is that being aware that we are an open book and being open to the experiences that we have rather than closed off to them. Now, I know there are different times where you might feel more open than others. And actually, when you experience being sensitive or getting defensive and not wanting to take the feedback, that is another great opportunity to learn as well, because there's a chance there that you've been triggered by something that is important to you to have a look at and maybe do some work on. But the more we can keep that open book approach, keep our minds open, keep our approach open. There's a great lady called Carol Dweck who talks about, she's written a great book called Mindset, and she talks about the power of yet. So I haven't done that yet. I'm not a future fit leader yet, or I'm not as assertive as I want to be yet. Whatever your development area is, using the power of yet helps us maintain that open mind. We are on that journey together and we will develop. And to me, that is really, really valuable from the point of view of future fit mindset and future fit leader. So to finally complete today's session, I want to just invite you to get a pen and paper if you've got one handy. And if you haven't, you can do this after today's session. I'm going to invite you to I've got my piece of paper here. I want you to draw a big circle. So draw a big circle. Not proud about it being a perfect circle. And then I want you to create 6 segments in that circle. Oops. So mine's a bit wonky, but we've got the 6 segments. You can work out about making them more even when you want to. But the idea is that we're going to use this as a self-assessment against those 6 elements of leadership. So, for example, for the first element, which is about being comfortable with that ambiguity, what I'm going to invite you to do after the call today is to rate yourself. On the outside of the circle, we're going to mark that 10. On the inside of the circle, we're going to call that 0. And what I want you to do is fill in this part of the circle, this segment, depending on how comfortable you feel with ambiguity. Yeah? And I'd like you then to do it for all the other 5 C's that we've talked about today. And then you'll get a sense of which ones you've got strengths in and which ones you're not so strong in. And it gives you an idea of how smooth is your bicycle wheel. Are you having a bumpy ride at the moment? You can see the way I've rated myself very quickly there as I'm having a bit of a bumpy ride. But you might find that you're also having a much smoother ride. But it will give you an indication of which elements of being future fit as a leader you're most strong in, and those that you might want to pay some attention to and do some development around. So we are coming to the end. We have gone over. I do apologise for going over. We had a half-hour slot and we're going on for 35 minutes. So I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed today. I really, really appreciate your comments. I'm going to read them all in full after today's call. It's been great to have such participation. I didn't expect such participation, so it's been really exciting and lovely to have had that. Thank you so much. We do have the second part of my 3-program series next week. And next week we are going to be looking a lot more at purpose and what your purpose is and how much you are fulfilling it. And those of you that are very clear on your purpose, maybe this will be a chance to really embed that for you. And for those that are less clear, it'll give you a chance to start opening up and waking up to some of the possibilities that are your purpose. So that leaves me just to say thank you so much for today and for your participation. I hope you've got value from it. I'm really looking forward to talking Future Fit Leader with you again next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
I hope that you've enjoyed the show today as much as we've enjoyed making it for you. If you've got anything out of this episode, please do tell someone else how they can subscribe to the Brand Builders TV channel at youtube.com/brandbuilderstv. Why not join us at our next Brand Builders Thinkubator, a global mastermind that we run every week to take away the loneliness of being in business on your own. For more information and to book your place, visit light.brandbuilders.club/Thinkubator. That's light.brandbuilders.club/Thinkubator. Until next time, be the ripple that you wish to see in the world, and we'll see you soon.